Black woman. Beautiful, powerful, resilient female of African descent with skin kissed by the sun. Conversation. A talk, especially an informal one between two or more people in which news and ideas are exchanged. We love being black women. Black women are ambitious. Black women are confident. Black women are diligent. We are tenacious. We walk out of our houses put together. We are many shades and personalities of fabulous. But we as black women don't talk about our dilemmas, current events, and what's going on every day that affects us. So, we created this podcast as a way to laugh together, cry together, and have an open conversation about life as black women.
Oh, that's deep. Black Women Conversations.
Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Janine.
How's your week been?
My week has been, now that I've given my notice to not work as of July, it's been good. Like I can say every single week that goes by, it feels so much better because I know that there is change in sight. Now, what I'm going to do come July, I really don't know yet. So that's a little bit nerve-wracking, but for the most part, it's been good. So we went to the Crawfish Festival this weekend and, goat roping the 2-year-old around the Crawfish Festival was a mess, but I did eat, me and my mom. So we bought 8 pounds of crawfish for me, my mom, my husband, and my friend Nikki. Well, Nikki had never eaten crawfish, and she said it was too much work for her to get to the little bit of meat. So she didn't do any crawfish. She went and ate shrimp. Of course, Harrison didn't eat crawfish. My husband doesn't fiddle with crawfish unless somebody else is peeling them for him, and I don't play that. I'm not going to peel your crawfish. I don't care if you are my man. I'm not peeling your food and put it in your mouth. So he had to go find some other food. So me and my mama, being the Louisiana girls that we are, we ate 8 pounds of crawfish by ourselves. We sure did. All 8 pounds. Okay. She had 4 pounds. I had 4 pounds. We couldn't let it go to waste. Let me tell you, those crawfish were like $10 a pound. We were not about to let it go to waste. So we had a great time. We had some daiquiris with it. People were handing out free beer out there. We felt like we were back in Louisiana.
Hold on. But you ate 8 pounds of crawfish between your mom.
Don't judge me.
What happened to your juice cleanse? I mean, literally, I feel like at the beginning of the week you were juice cleansing and now you're eating 8 pounds of crawfish. What happened?
Yes, we did juice Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We did the juice cleanse. Tomorrow, because we record on Sundays, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'll be juicing again. Okay. And then I'll be eating lean after that. And then the next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be juicing again. And then Easter will come. And then we'll start eating very, very clean. Like this will be, we're trying to be summertime fine. So we can't go hard all week. But after you juice, I deserve those 8 pounds of crawfish. Listen, when you go with only juice, those juices only have like 30 to 50 calories each. I'm not about to starve forever. I couldn't go on a salad after that. Plus, crawfish really isn't that bad. I would say the sodium content may be bad, but I will say they didn't really season them well. So I feel like they were diet crawfish. Let's say that.
Wait, diet crawfish though, Nicole?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'm with James. That's way too much work. If I'm going to put in that kind of work, I'm a Maryland girl, so I eat the crabs. But even then, I prefer somebody to do the work for me. Now, I will do it if I have to, but I'm just like, I really have to be in the mood to get my hands that dirty to get a little teeny piece of meat. I really have to be in the mood. I don't know that I can do 8 pounds of it, though. That's a lot.
Well, it wasn't 8 pounds. It was 4 pounds each. But we had a good time. Listen, we had such a good time, but it was hot. We were worn out. Then we went and got ice cream afterwards because the baby wanted ice cream. He literally took a spoon of ice cream and smeared it on the back window. And that's when I said, toddlers don't care what you got. They don't care what they ride in. They don't care what you got. They don't care how much it costs to detail your car. They don't care. He literally, and laughed about it. And I couldn't get mad because he's 2, right? You can't get mad at a 2-year-old.
For the people, they don't know what kind of car you drive, but I do. And that's when I would draw the line. And I would be mad at a 2-year-old. Not the ice cream spoon on my back window. No. I mean, I understand it's just a car and you can clean it. But I just feel like it's a certain level of disrespect. It's a thing. Like, No, keep your food on the spoon and put the spoon in your mouth, not on my window.
Can 2-year-olds actually be disrespectful? I don't think they can be disrespectful.
Yes, absolutely they can. 100%. As a matter of fact, I believe that most 2-year-olds are very disrespectful. I think that it's just their inherent nature. The terrible twos it should be called the disrespectful twos. That's what they do, is disrespect people. Literally, you have to change your life to fit what they want. That is disrespect at like the max. I don't understand. Literally, your life has to revolve around them.
And that is true. Like when you become a mom, your life is your children's lives. But we signed up for this, so I can't be too mad when I signed up for this. I pray for that little tiny baby.
I commend you and every other parent. Me and the way that Janine's patience is set up. Lord knows. This is why the Lord blesses people that have patience with kids. Me, I don't have that patience. So God bless you.
So, Janine, what did you do this week with your kid-free time?
You would think that I would have some like really fun, exciting stuff that I did. I worked. I feel like I'm like you, Nicole, this week. I worked like a Hebrew slave. Now, I will say that it was fun in the work process, but I worked like a Hebrew slave. And I mean, honestly, this week was intense. I had one of my friends, her mother passed away. And actually my mentor, I should say. And it was a little tough. And then in the way back, randomly we got caught in like a tornado warning. Like Ken and I were driving back and our phones had that piercing blaring noise when there's an emergency alert. And we were like, what is going on? Because our phones were connected to the car like sound. We were trying to figure out what is going on. And we realized like, oh, our phones are telling us that there is a tornado warning. So Ken tried to like pull over underneath of an overpass. And then it says in the warning, do not be in the car, find the closest building, like don't be on the highway, get off. I mean, literally it was like, okay, get off the highway now. So we're in the middle of nowhere, Virginia. And for people who are familiar with Virginia, not all parts of Virginia like people that look like us. So we find a Dunkin' Donuts thinking like, okay, this will be safe. And then by the time that we ordered Dunkin' and had our like fix of coffee, it was clear blue skies, like nothing had ever happened. So it was a little interesting. But other than that, like I said, I work like a Hebrew slave. And I'm not going to put Ken's business out there, but I had a role reversal this week where Ken needed to call the doctor and see the doctor and he didn't want to. And I stayed on that tail like he stayed on mine when I was sick. Please believe it was every 2 seconds. I was like, hello, did you call the doctor yet? Okay, then we're not going to, did you move? Okay, then we should be dialing some numbers. I need you to get on the phone with the doctor. So there was a lot of that this week, but I feel exhausted. I did sleep today though. That's a plus.
I'm going to circle back to that Ken thing probably off air because I have a lot of questions about that. And Janine, I'm now realizing that you skated past the conversation of how did your doctor's visit go this week. You went on to like the next thing and you just skated over that topic. So we're going to get back to that too. But I do like how y'all, most people are, when they see a tornado warning come across, right, the alert, in my head, I'm like, okay, you're supposed to seek cover, right? Get in a ditch. Make sure you're not in your car during an active tornado warning, right? These fools gonna say, we gonna pull up at the Dunkin' Donuts and we gonna have us a good cup of coffee and a donut. Did y'all get an apple fritter? Got them a treat while they watched it go down. I said, I guess y'all said, if we gonna go down in this, we gonna have us some carbs.
Absolutely.
We gonna die having carbs. That's how you do it.
Absolutely. And I think I actually had a frozen coffee. Like I had the tallest frozen coffee. Now, granted, halfway into this coffee, it was so sweet that I couldn't take it anymore. But it took us enough time. Like we, stopped, enjoyed the coffee, like to watch the tornado go past. And then we got back on the road and got through Virginia and got back home.
Well, I'm glad y'all are safe with your Dunkin' Donuts.
Thank you. But I did not intentionally skate past my doctor's appointment. I will tell you this. My first doctor's appointment results this week, I think. And you said that they were good, except for I'm anemic, which we knew. And we just hope that I don't have to go back on those stupid iron infusions because I hated them with a passion. But if we do, I will do that because I'm doing better. But the second doctor's appointment, I will tell you this. I left that doctor's appointment with 3 referrals to other doctors. And I realized that 40 is knocking really hard on my door. I mean, it is like banging my door down. And one of them, though, I am very appreciative of. It's the allergist, because we know that I have food allergies. And I took this Everlywell test that my best friend got me. And I was like, oh, this will be great. I'll find the couple of things that I'm allergic to, and then realize I was allergic to the world, i.e. yeast. Now, you all go through life trying to be allergic to yeast. There are a lot of things that you cannot eat. So we're going to go get a full workup from the allergist, and then we'll figure out more things that Janine can't eat. But yeah, it went well. Other than the 1,000 referrals, it went well.
Well, hopefully one of those referrals was a GI referral, girl, because, let me tell you, yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're taking care of yourself now. That's always good. We need you around, Janine, for 2023, because the rate you were going to die in 2022, okay? Because you weren't taking care of yourself. I'm just saying. Anyway, all right. So, this portion of the show, I usually say, Janine, what's on your timeline? But this week we have a timeline expert, and that is Miss Natasha Simona. Natasha Simona is a New York native, started her entertainment career in talk radio as a morning show co-host. After several years hosting on various platforms as the voice behind the mic, Natasha took a small hiatus from entertainment to develop her biggest role in life, and that's raising her 2 sons, Amir and Ajani. In 2016, Natasha packed up the boys and ventured on yet another big leap, jumping back into her love for media. Moved to Los Angeles, California, where she currently resides. Currently, Natasha has a growing podcast, the Natasha Simona Sequence. I love that name. Natasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Nicole. I love how you read that. I might have to hire you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nicole. Hi, Janine.
Hi. So glad to have you.
I hope I said your name right.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to be here. I love listening to you ladies. So it's fun to be, with the cool girls.
We are so excited to have you. So as you heard, we have to ask you today, Miss Natasha Simona, what's on your timeline?
I mean, I don't know when the last time my timeline consisted of one topic, and that is the Oscars 2022, starring Will Smith, Chris Rock, and Jada Pinkett Smith. Was there anybody else at the Oscars? I'm just a little, I don't know. Ladies, let me tell you something. Will Smith decided today was not the day, or that day was not the day. Chris Rock was doing his routine, as they all do on the Oscars, something light. I mean, it's not a comedy show. Do you know what I'm saying? They're up there, they tell their little jokes, and the jokes are usually corny anyway, but it's funny enough for evening television with your family. And Chris went a little far? ? He made a comment about Jada's beautiful bald head, saying that she should be starring in the next G.I. Jane 2. The movie with Demi Moore when she shaved off her hair. I mean, it was kind of funny. But I think in the moment that Will laughed, Jada laughed, there was that, Jada gave him a look that y'all know as wives. When you give your husband that look, it's like, it's a comedy show? And Will was like, nah, bro, hold up. He walked his handsome self. He was looking real good. Shoes were shiny. And them shoes weren't even scuffed at the bottom yet. He could have fell on his way up that stage, okay? And he approached Chris Rock and gave him the 5 fingers to that little face that Chris Rock has. I couldn't believe it. The world couldn't believe it. He then proceeded to fix his jacket and walked off the stage, sat down, and Chris Rock says, wow, I just got slapped by Will Smith. Now, everybody thought it was probably part of the routine because it's the Oscars. We don't see that kind of situation happening ever, right? Will Smith then said, you gonna keep my wife's name out your mouth, but he added in a certain curse word that we won't say here. And that's when the whole room was he said it twice. And that's when the whole temperature of the Oscars changed. And I'm sweating even talking about it because it's it's everywhere and it's uncomfortable to see because Will Smith, he's that good boy. It's the Fresh Prince. And Chris Rock is just corny and funny, Hello? So this week, everything is unfolding. Why did this happen? What's going on with Will? Chris didn't deserve it. He's a comedian. Our comedian's scared. What's Jada saying? Jada ain't saying nothing. Well, she did say, this is a time for healing, but we want more, right? Will Packer, who was the producer of the Oscars this week, went on Good Morning America and was saying, how Chris Rock did not want to press any charges. The police, LAPD was like, we here, what's up? Where he at? Let's get him. They were all too happy to take the Fresh Prince back to Philly. So nothing happened to Will, but now there's an investigation. And when I tell you the dragation of the situation from the altercation is crazy. Will Smith, he issued an apology. There was a fake apology, but it was really good. A fake apology was issued on Chris Rock's behalf. Turned out to be fake, but it was so good that I think if I was his PR team, they should just run with it and pay whomever wrote it up. Okay. And Chris Rock's brother, Tony Rock, is on a comedy tour as well. Who knew that? First of all, Tony, where have you been? Second of all, I get it. He has like 10 brothers and I have siblings and we gonna talk. Well, Tony Rock was on Twitter with his Twitter fingers and, people were asking like, is all forgiven? He said no. Then people were like, who hits harder? He was like, Mama Rock. So I don't know if Mama Rock is entering the chat. And Tony Rock was like, it's on site. So I don't know if that's like an empty threat or just a sibling just being like riled up for their own, Chris Rock is on tour. Now, I'm going to end by saying this. It was horrible to watch, sad to see because we don't know Will Smith to be in that light, right? And as far as we know, these people are friends. As I thought they were friends. Chris Rock has an ego. His tour is called Ego Death Tour, ironically. His tour was selling at $42 or $46 prior to the slap. His tour is now, if you can even find a ticket, $350 plus if you can find it because it's sold out. So he's on tour. People, of course, are buying it, waiting for him to talk about the slap. He said, I'm not talking about the slap. He actually kicked out a couple of hecklers who were heckling for him, like rallying for him, like, boo to Will Smith, He said, nope, get out. We're not having any. So he's not even allowing people to talk about Will. He's not allowing people to heckle. And he wants to move on for now. He said, I am going to address it. I am going to talk about it. It's going to be a serious talk with some comedy. So let me tell you something. Shout out to Chris's face, though. He took that hit like a champ. He's all of 110 pounds wet and didn't even move. But that's on my timeline. And I'm sure it's going to be on the timeline for the next couple of weeks.
Let me tell you, when we were recording last Sunday, it was literally while it was happening. And I saw it kept coming across, it was like one notification after the other. So I'm like, okay, it has to be a prank, right? Like they have to have set this up because, Will Smith he's the white collar Black actor, right? Like we don't get that kind of drama, even with his situation with Jada and August Alsina, which
the entanglement.
The fact that we're still talking the fact that we're still talking about that is just like, ugh. But even with that, he still gave us like upstanding Will, right? And then all of a sudden, he's out here smacking people like, whoa. He admits that he was insecure about Jada and Tupac. He talked about the August Alsina situation. Every time when Will had the opportunity to lash out prior to now, there have been several. He's never lashed out. So why all of a sudden at the 94th Oscars do you decide to give us Rambo? Like, what is happening?
I think that Will has some mama issues, though. If you go back to all the things he went through in his book, how he could never defend his mother when she was basically getting beat down by his daddy. He basically sat there innocently and didn't defend her. I feel like that has something to do with him all of a sudden saying, I'm growing into my manhood. Let me defend my woman. And realistically, I feel like if Cat Williams was up there, it wouldn't have been the same thing. Or any other comedian besides Chris Rock, it wouldn't have been the same thing. But I think he paused for a second because if you look at the video, because I've watched this video a million times because I was so surprised that it happened. But, everybody was laughing at the joke. He was even laughing at the joke until Jada was like, And then he was like, okay, wait a minute. What am I supposed to do? Let me see what I'm supposed to do. He paused for a second, analyzed the situation. Can I get away with slapping this Negro? Can I get away with slapping this? I feel like I can get away with slapping this Negro. Let me scoot on up here and slap him. The only thing that would have made that any funnier is if he would have backhand slapped him. Like if he would have backhand slapped him, like pimp slapped him, that would have been hilarious. But he slapped him, he forehand slapped him. And that was hilarious enough because even that, Chris Rock's reaction made it seem like y'all rehearsed this, right? Because he's like, oh my God, I just got slapped by Will Smith. Oh my God. I mean, you could tell he was in shock after that because he tried to go on to the subject at hand, which we don't even know what it was after that because he was stumbling over it. We were still in shock. And if I would have been Lupita, who was sitting like literally right behind with her face the whole time says a million words. It's like all the emotions come through her face. And I'm like, if I could be a fly on the back of Lupita, I don't know what I would have done if I was her. She just was like, oh, this is awkward. I don't know what to do.
So I think, honestly, there's so many conversations, endless conversations that I've sat in all week to get every single perspective, right? And sometimes the best perspective is your own if you've ever experienced anything like that. And on one hand, I know what it feels like to not have the man that you trust, love, and respect to have your back, right? I know what it feels like to be left hanging to dry, waiting for this man to show up, and he doesn't show up. And it is such a hurtful, naked feeling, right? And then the relationship is over. And then I also know what it is to be comforted by that man that you love, trust, and respect. And it's like, you don't have to do anything because he has already jumped into action. Now, I never had anybody slap up the next person for me, and I hope I never get to that point as old as I am. But I know what it feels like to have both sides, right? Now, I think with Will being a husband who loves his wife, who has gone through so much with his wife, where he did feel powerless at one point, right? Watching his mom go through situations where he was powerless, and then also having to endure her insecurities. We see Jada as this like powerful figure. She holds herself down in public respectfully, right? Yeah, the entanglement is one thing, but I just don't like the way people were trying to combine the situation. Well, he didn't do anything with the entanglement situation, but now he want to slap around people. And it's like the two really don't have it's not the same. Like if they have an arrangement, then that's something different versus somebody snapping jokes on your wife. And if he's consuming a lot of her insecurities, like we don't know the conversation they were having in the hotel room before they came downstairs. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if Jada was standing there in her green dress and he's like, damn, baby, you look good. Like how we would assume they are from what we see. And he's trying to pump her up and she's just like, shoulders down. And, she's like, I just don't, my hair. Imagine that, right? So now he's consuming her insecurities and he's trying to lift her up. Now they're at the Oscars. They're amongst their peers. This is the most elite moment in acting, in your acting career. This is the party of the party, right? And now you're sitting there anticipating your win amongst your friends. Now your people in the building. Will Packer was the producer. D Nice was the DJ. There was a lot of Black excellence, Black representation in the building that will never make the news, right? And now he's sitting there in the moment anticipating this well-awaited win. And now this man, my friend, gets on the stage and makes an inappropriate joke about my wife when 45 minutes ago, I'm upstairs in the hotel wiping her tears away. And now it's like, I see the look on my wife's face. So I don't even think he had nothing but 4.5 seconds before he made that decision. Like, you know what? I'm going to slap the black off your face real quick. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying.
But there's a way to address that. I mean, could he have said something else slick back? Could he have addressed it when he did win his Oscar? He had the whole platform to address it then. He could have said something there. He could have, acknowledged his wife and how beautiful she was that night at that moment. But for him to literally slap this man. I mean, now all the white people see, this is what happened when you get too many Negroes together. You got too many Negroes in the house. This is what happened. They don't know how to act when we let too many of them in.
We're not invited next year. We are
not invited next year. Not invited. And then Will's like, y'all don't have to worry about me. I'm resigning. I mean, it's just like too much. Too much.
So yeah, so he put out a statement. He's resigning or resigned, however that works. And let me I thought about that too. I said, dang, he's not going to be part of, the whatever board. In 2022, I think the award shows it's lost its steam. Honestly, it's not the same like when we were younger and it was like a highly anticipated family moment. We watch all these things. Unfortunately, I don't think they have moved with the time and expanded. And so many times we as the Black and brown community, we have been passed over, looked over, our content, our work has been stolen, so we've been casted out for so long that I think right now, and this is not a justification to Will, but I feel like, you know what? Yes, that's the honorable thing for you to do. You did do something wrong. You assaulted this man in front of the entire world. So yes, you should step down. And I think he did so gracefully, in his statement. I think that was respectful and graceful. But I think it's also time for us to perfect our platforms that we already have. If we don't already have an award show to represent the Black and brown communities, you know what I'm saying? Then it's time for us to tighten that up, create it, and build it. Now, no, it doesn't mean we need to act like fools, when somebody says something wrong. And that is definitely a conversation that needs to be publicly had coming out of Will Smith's mouth. But it's time that we also reevaluate, or should I say evaluate, and come together as creators and talk about why has it taken this long for Will to receive an Oscar. And we totally didn't even talk about the fact that Samuel L. Jackson won an Oscar that night, his first Oscar. He's been in how many? I think I can't find it in my notes quick enough, but I think 127 or 129 movies. This man is 152 years old, and this is the first time he's winning an Oscar. And he received the Oscar from Denzel Washington. Unfortunately, the slap and the situation between Will Smith and Chris Rock has overshadowed a lot of content within our community that won't see the light of day probably till 5 days before the Oscars next year. But I think now it's time for us to look at the situation on a bigger scope and like this whole thing we've been talking about, just move on.
I agree. Why is this the thing that we want to stick to with Will? Like, there's been so much drama in this family. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for Will because this one moment kind of showed us a little peek inside of what's going on inside of his brain. I often think that we forget that a lot of these celebrities are human too. And just because we find their lives amusing does not mean that it's easy for them to live through it. And, now we kind of got to his boiling point to me. I mean, sorry, Chris Rock, that's had to happen to you. But yeah, we've kind of been poking this bear for a while. And now all of a sudden the bear bit back. It just bit the wrong person.
Sorry, Chris Rock. I don't feel sorry. Let me tell you something. This has tarnished Will Smith forever. He will lose roles because of this. He will. Okay. Chris Rock, this has actually helped his brand a lot. That's why those ticket sales went up, quadruple. So I don't feel sorry for him at all. I said it.
I feel sorry for him because he got smacked. I mean, Nicole, he is a grown man that got smacked by another grown man on international television. Let me tell you something. We in the United States didn't know what happened or what Will Smith said, right? It wasn't until the people in Australia and the people in Japan were like, oh, it wasn't bleeped here. Here's what he actually said, right? So this was not something that just happened in the U.S. It's international. This man literally, hands behind his back, got smacked like a little child by their parents, like they said something wrong. That's embarrassing. Talking about emasculating. Sorry, Chris Rock.
It is embarrassing. And for that split second, everybody was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to Chris Rock. But at the end of the day, Chris Rock is not going to hurt from this long. He is going to gain a lot of opportunities. Let me tell you, he's probably going to have endorsement from the anti-bullying campaign, all kind of stuff he's going to have endorsements for getting slapped, okay? Will Smith is going to have to sit down for a little while, okay? Ain't going to be no, Pursuit of Happiness 2, okay? And it's not going to be that. He is going to sit down for a little while, and Chris Rock is going to prosper because of this. That's all I'm saying. I feel bad that he was embarrassed, but at the end of the day, he's going to be laughing all the way to the bank. And he already getting bank, but he going to get a little bit more bank over this.
Yeah, but so is Will. They've already talked about how they're going to go and talk about this on Red Table Talk. And let's be very clear, much like we posted when it first happened, ain't nobody about to really cancel Will. We're about to give him a little break for a second because we understand that he needs to cool down for a moment because he's at his boiling point and we hear it. Like we hear the whistle, right? Like little kettle, we get it. We hear it. We've seen it. But we're not about to cancel him. Because if we cancel Will, like, and this is going to sound like a really terrible analogy, but when we had to cancel R. Kelly, we were hurting because the catalog was too deep. It was a painful moment. You about to tell us that we got to cancel Will Smith because he smacked somebody? Let's keep that catalog and say, okay, we need to get him some help and he needs a little bit of time to cool down, but we're not canceling Will. We're not doing that.
No, I don't think that he's going to get canceled. I just think he's going to lose some roles because of this. But the Black community is not going to cancel. We didn't cancel Kanye. We definitely not canceling Will Smith. Just saying.
That's very true.
I mean, Kanye, in all fairness, Kanye did not put his hands on anybody. He just did a little internet beef talking. In all fairness, now I'm not trying to take sides anywhere, but I bet you Kanye was sitting there like, y'all was worried about me. Homeboy is putting hands on people. I'm just internet beefing. So Will Smith, you know what? A lot of people don't know that Will Smith has Westbrook is his production company. And that Westbrook has kicked out Red Table Talk and a few things. And him getting canceled, I think a couple of shows, he had a show on Netflix. I don't remember the name of it, but that pulled out. And I think there was something else that's on pause right now. I think he was supposed to be filming something over the summer. Yeah. So I think as of right now, 2 projects have been put on hold. However, baby, all I see is greatness coming out of his production company. You want to know why? It's the Fresh Prince. And if we had a hard time canceling, BC. Y'all don't know who BC is, right? I don't know if we want to say the name and wake up some people's nerves. But that show we can't find it anywhere. The good old Huxtables, and we were raised off of that. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's a real tough one because you talking about a whole family, and now we got to suffer for one person of the family, right? We mentioned R. Kelly. I mean, let me tell you something. I have 2 kids, and I won't confirm or deny that my kids weren't conceived off of some R. Kelly music, child. You know what I'm saying?
That part.
And now, I think in this day and age of cancel culture, on one hand, while I get it, on the other hand, I feel like not everybody needs to be canceled. I'm not saying that the 2 people I just mentioned don't need to be canceled, but I think we need to have conversations on how to cancel the person and keep the creativity that raised all of us. You know what I mean? Because the characters that we received on the Huxtables is not the real life person that did the things that were done. R. Kelly, the music that we consumed and the creativity that came out of that brought happy moments. You brought stuff to the cookout that, brought families together. Now we're talking about Will Smith. Is it necessary to cancel Will Smith? No, he did something wrong. He lashed out of anger. Let's throw him into some mental help sessions. Let him get on a platform and talk about suppressed feelings, right? Because that we saw suppressed emotions. Can we have conversations of suppressed emotions within the Black community? Can we have conversations about men not having platforms to speak about things? Because our men are supposed to be strong. Men are not supposed to cry, according to society. When you cry, you're weak. So if Will has all this bottled up, pent up emotions from being dragged in the media and made fun of, and he's a husband and he's a father and he, you know what I'm saying? All these things that he's dealing with that we don't know about. How about he go on the same way Chris Rock might go on a campaign trail talking about bullying, right? Will Smith needs to go on a campaign talking about, as a man having suppressed feelings, this is what it looks like. Imagine other people who might take it 3-4 steps further in domestic violence. And so there's a lot that can come out of this, that will come out of this. And the networks that are slowly pulling his stuff off the shelves, go ahead, pull him. He's got Westbrook, and it's only going to make Westbrook some money because Westbrook is going to produce.
I agree too. So y'all ready to help our listeners talk through some of these letters?
Sure thing. Let's do it.
The first letter reads, Nicole and Janine, after what feels like a decade due to the pandemic, my company finally hosted a picnic for all employees and their families. My boyfriend and I both work from home as software developers, but for different companies. I brought him to the company picnic with me as a way for him to network and just to get out of the house. My boyfriend was on his way to grab a burger when he overheard one of my colleagues joking about my weight. Out of nowhere, I hear people screaming and running. My boyfriend punched my coworker in the mouth, which knocked him to the floor. In the midst of all the commotion, we all ran and got into our cars. My boyfriend jumped into the passenger side and kept his head down. I drove off, but I'm not sure what I should do now. Most people don't know each other, let alone us, because we've been working from home and a lot of the staff are new. However, we have in-person meetings every 2 weeks. What if someone says something? Should I apologize to my coworker? Should I get rid of my boyfriend for his behavior, although he was standing up for me? Or should I just act like nothing ever happened? Please help, Davita.
First of all, depending on how long she's been working for the company, that's going to be uncomfortable. Whether she started, because if she's the new girl, now she's the awkward new girl. Now she's the new girl that people don't want to invite to after work stuff where she potentially might bring her boyfriend, because it's like, we're all just chilling. We want to decompress. And now your man might be sensitive and now we're going to get punched in the face. She could potentially lose her job, honestly, because it's a company function. So technically you're on company time. That's assault. And depending on the person who received the punch, can press charges, take this to HR and consider her a liability at the job, because that's what she gonna have to let him go. He got to go. I say she has to let that one has to go, because that's gonna be a reoccurring issue.
I agree. Why are we even having this conversation if he's your boyfriend? Like, y'all don't have no papers on each other. Clearly, he's a hothead. Like, girl, they were talking about your weight. If they were talking about your weight at the company picnic, just openly, they probably talk about you regularly. So maybe you should find a new job and a new boyfriend. I'm just saying, like, I don't really want to work around people who want to have a conversation about my weight, because there are many other things that you can talk about. And my life is way more interesting than the pounds that you see on this scale. So let's be clear. Your coworkers are trash too, but your boyfriend is a little bit of trash. And then to hop in the passenger seat and put his head down. No. Dude, keep that same energy than when you were punching my coworkers. Keep your head up, because what are we doing? And why are you suddenly embarrassed now? You weren't embarrassed when you were throwing hands. What's happening? Help me understand. And girl, again, back to my original point, he's your boyfriend. We don't have no papers. Let him go.
Now, I'll say this, okay? Because I'm just sitting here thinking, right? So they've been working from home because of the pandemic, right? Obviously, she's been with the company a while because they know who she is, or at least they've seen her and they know enough that she works there and this is who she is, that one of her coworkers is talking about her. Now, the question is, does anybody know that that's actually your boyfriend? If they don't know that it's actually your boyfriend, I don't know if I would even say anything. I would literally, and you know me, Janine, I'm like, the direct approach is always the best approach. Like, go ahead, admit you wrong, get rid of him. You ain't got no papers on him. But at the same time, I'm sitting like, I don't know if I would actually say something to the coworker. You know, he probably got knocked out. He don't know who hit him. He just snuck up, got hit, fell to the ground. He has no idea who hit him. So I probably wouldn't say anything to the coworker, because that's what you get for messing with me. That's what you get. I wouldn't say anything. The coworker is probably not going to say anything either, because he's probably embarrassed, right? He's not saying anything. So 2 weeks later, I'd let it die down. 2 weeks later, I would go in there. Hey, how you doing, Jill? Hey, how you doing, David? Hey, how you doing? I would literally prance around, put my little suit on, go in for the company meeting, ask anybody if they want to have tea afterwards, and go about my business. I would not say a word about it. Now, if they do know that that's my boyfriend, that's a little bit different. But I probably still wouldn't say anything to the coworker about it. I would say something to my boyfriend about it, like, don't be embarrassing me. I can't take you nowhere. And if I can't take you to the picnic or the Christmas party and you don't know how to act, then you can't be with me, because I need you to put your best foot forward at all times. And I would have had to get rid of him, because I need you to know how to behave in public. Okay. But again, I would have asked him, what sparked this temper and this anger in you to make you do this? And him hearing somebody talking about me, I might have felt a little bit good. So I may have given him a little pass for doing it. And like I said, I wouldn't have said anything. Now, it would be a long time. If people knew it was my boyfriend, it would be a long time before I took him back to any company functions. I'd have to let that die all the way down if I didn't get rid of him. But again, for me not to get rid of somebody that showed theirs, everything else has to be perfect. You got to be good in the bed. You got to spoil me rotten. You got to be paying all the bills. Okay. You can't have no baggage or drama. Okay. No red flags anywhere else. And then I'll keep you around. But if anything is lacking, okay, the D ain't good. You got to go. Like, there's no reason for me to keep that kind of drama if everything else is not in alignment. Okay. So you learn your lesson. Somebody talks about me. Don't do anything. You can make a slick comment back to them, but don't go putting your hands on nobody because I don't want to have to bail you out with your own money. I don't want to have to do that. Okay. I don't have to bail you out. That's money out of my pocket when I have to go into your savings. Okay. Don't do that. So that's what I would tell him. But I would probably like not say anything, especially that coworker. Because if he said something to me, I'd have looked at him like, you know what you did, and you know why you got your tail whooped that day. But I bet you won't do it no more. I bet my name won't be in your mouth no more.
Nicole, not keeping him if the D is good. Like, we're not doing that. He has to go. You can find good D somewhere else.
Listen, and I didn't say it just because I didn't say just because of that, okay? I'm saying everything else has to be in alignment, including that, okay? You'll find you can't be around with bad credit, a whole bunch of baggage, and like subpar D. And I'm just keeping you around just because I'm comfortable with you around. Like, no, I can move on. I can do better than that. But I'm saying if everything else is good and you had that one hiccup, I might have to forgive you, especially since you were defending me. I'm going to have to forgive you.
Okay, Nicole, this is the one time where you are going to forgive the terrible behavior because he's defending your honor. So that's fine. We know if you would like to get away with terrible behavior with Nicole, just defend her honor and she will keep you around. Me, I'm more cut and dry. Like, you do one thing wrong and I'm just like, no, but I will say it is a little sexy for somebody to defend your honor, but I'm going to need you to stay out of jail because I'm with you, Nicole. I'm not trying to bail you out of jail with your money because that's money that I could be spending on something that I want. Just saying.
All right, Janine, what is your letter?
Okay, so this one says, ladies, this one is a bit long, so please forgive me. I recently had a baby and my parents came to stay with us right before our son was born. That was until my father and husband got into a physical altercation and my husband put my parents out. My husband and I woke up early as we normally did. My husband and I went downstairs to make morning coffee, wash and dry bottles, put them away, and prep new bottles for my son. It happened to be a Sunday, so we thought that we would fix a hearty breakfast before church. When my father comes downstairs, he came down before my mother. He sat at the head of the table and he started reading news on his phone. We were all chatting while we finished fixing the food and set everything out for everyone. My mother came down and my father blessed the meal and breakfast was served. I excused myself from the table to feed my son and I noticed that my father wasn't eating. I assumed it was because my mother hadn't yet fixed him a plate, but didn't really think much of it because he's old school. To my surprise, when I returned from feeding my son, my father started yelling at me, saying I should have known better, and asked what was he supposed to eat. He said I should know that since he had a heart attack some years back, he only eats cereal, drinks orange juice, has a boiled egg, and a cup of coffee every single day. Mind you, I haven't lived at home in decades, and we don't exactly discuss his eating habits. Not to mention, we did have boiled eggs, toast, fruit, juice, and coffee as options at the breakfast table. The only thing that we didn't have was cereal. My father then proceeded to grab my chin like I was a child and said, "You know better. And how do you expect to have a husband and a family making these kind of silly mistakes?" Seeing this, my husband got up from his chair and said, "This is my house and you will not talk to my wife like this." My father then said she was my daughter first, and they went back and forth while my mother and I just watched confused. My husband offered to fix my father something else or go pick up something for him, but my father refused. Moments later, as my husband was finishing his food, my father proceeded to pour his glass of orange juice in my husband's lap. Before I knew it, they were fighting. My husband said, "I don't care who you are, you will not disrespect me in my home." The next thing I knew, my father was storming around the house, pouting and packing. My husband said they're no longer welcome into his home. I know that my father was wrong, but how can I convince my husband to allow my parents back in our home again? Please help. Signed, April.
First of all, see, here's the thing. The father, there's some power tripping happening, okay? Some big power tripping happening. And when you move out of your home and you build this new life with your husband, your wife, that is the real rites of passage to the real adulthood, right? Like, we've experienced adulthood, we moved out, go to college, whatever have you. Okay, that's phase 1. Phase 2, you might get your own place. Cool. Phase 3, now you're married and you're building a life with this new person, and you have children, whatever the case is. And I think sometimes parents don't really know how to fully grasp that they don't have children anymore when they come in town to visit, or when the children, the quote unquote grown children, come and visit you, right? We're literally all adults here. So now in this case, the parents are visiting, the father feeling like, I'm still dad, I'm still the man of the household. Dad is in the wrong completely. Like, sorry, sir, sorry about your heart attack, but you're disrespecting my home, the roof that we live in. You're disrespecting my husband, the man that takes care of your daughter, right? And I'm not supposed to be fixing a plate. Like, if I'm fixing a plate for anybody, it's going to be my husband. Your wife, sir, is upstairs. You better call Magdalene downstairs to come fix you this Sunday breakfast. Now, if I choose to fix you a plate, whether it's in my home or the cookout or whatever, that's because I have the time, but I'm going to make sure my husband is first. Dad pouring the orange juice in his lap, sir, you got to go. How they mend this, I think they need to have a little bit of space, but because in the name of we don't know when our time is and parents getting older, I think they need to do this quickly. But no, he got to go. The hotel is around the corner. You ain't gonna mess up the energy in my household because I got to deal with this.
So leave to cleave. We forget about leave to cleave. Okay. Your daddy, it was completely out of line, but your husband and your daddy fighting is also completely out of line. But for me, I just feel like whenever there is beef between in-laws, that beef should not bring the person that's not in the family in. I feel like as the wife, if my dad was the person that was acting a fool, which my dad is not here, rest his soul, but if he were here, I would have to take my dad to the side and say, hey, listen, this ain't your castle anymore. Please don't put me in this bad situation. And please don't disrespect my husband's house. And if you don't like it, I can come visit you and mom at your own houses. And you can't come back to my house. I feel like as that person, like that's my family, I need to address them. So now that your husband has now beefed with your father's poured orange juice in your husband's lap. That's just out of line. And I hate that the husband got into it with the father, because now it's like, oh my God, the wife is in a bad situation. You got your husband and your dad fighting. But at the same time, I feel like you pouring orange juice on me is like putting your hands on me. I have the right to defend myself. Although I wish the husband wouldn't have had to do that. I wish that the wife would have stepped in and said something much earlier and put her family in its place. Likewise, I tell my husband all the time, because Johnny, my husband is the only son. He has 3 sisters, okay? And they let me know, oh, I'm married to their only brother, right? And they say smart things. And I tell him, it's your job to put your sisters in their places, okay? It's not my job. Because the one time I did open my mouth, it was, I can't believe you reacted like that. Well, you didn't say nothing. You left it up to me to hold and stand my ground. So I said what I wanted to say, which is something I should have said a long time ago. But you want to sit here because this is your norm, right? And that's probably her norm, right? Her norm is how her daddy is acting. But you got to recognize when your norm is rude and disrespectful. And people are so blindsided in families that they don't realize that the stuff that they've been around is toxic. That's toxicity. And people don't have to put up with that. And so her husband got to the point where he was like, I don't have to put up with this. This is my house. I can say whatever I want. I can do whatever I want to do. You're going to sit there and let your family disrespect me? Oh, not in the house. I pay bills. And I don't blame him for standing up. I blame the wife.
I think that we have to make this dad responsible, well, her father responsible for his own actions. It is not the wife's fault. Clearly, this father is toxic, as you said, Nicole. He has been toxic. I mean, the fact that we don't hear about the mother stepping in or saying anything, it sounds like this father probably ruled their house when she was young with an iron fist, not grabbing my face like I'm somebody's child. Like, she said she's been out of the house for decades. So we will assume she said decades. So let's just say it was 2 decades. She's at least in her 30s, right? The fact that you think, even as my parent, that you can grab my face and reprimand me in some way in my 30s, like I'm your 5-year-old, that is problematic. Number 2, the fact that she said, oh, he's old school. My mom, I just figured it's because my mom hadn't made him a plate. Like, are you that stubborn and selfish and self-centered that you're going to throw a tantrum because someone did not make you a plate when all of the food it sounded like was out as a spread? What is the problem? Like, you came and sat at the head of the table at another man's house. We didn't even talk about that part. Like, you sat at the head of a table that didn't even belong to you. Like, the entitlement of this father just seems to be overwhelming. And it seems like this was probably the boiling point where the son-in-law had enough. And he was like, let me explain this to you for a second. This behavior that I've probably seen before, and I probably have received complaints from my wife about, whether they've been intentional complaints or just comments that the wife has made to him. I'm tired of you. And now you're going to disrespect me and pour orange juice in my lap? I feel like that's kind of like spitting in someone's face. Like, I'm just going to be super disrespectful so that I can degrade you in your own house while I'm sitting at the head of your table. The dad is wrong. And the dad can go on about his business. And I'm not sure that I would have any conversation with him, because this might be a relief for April, that she's like, this toxic behavior, I hear that she's saying that she wants to fix it, but do you really want to fix it, April? Do you really want that kind of toxic behavior in your home again? I'm just curious. And do you want your son to be raised around that kind of toxic behavior? Think of all of the things that behavior has made you lose or miss out on. And then ask yourself, do you want your son to be raised around that? Maybe rethink this. That's all I'm saying.
But this is why I blame her. How you gonna let some other man, yes, your father is the other man, come and sit in your husband's seat? She should have corrected, like, oh, Dad, this is not your seat. This is your seat over here.
See, I've never had the issue with my dad coming to my home when I had that full family with my kids and, their dad and things like that. But my mom, she would come over and have like an extra kind of authoritative tone. And it's like, hey, you're at my house. I know I'm young, but you still at my house with my man and our kids. Like, please, if you gonna act up, go home. And this is, back when I was living closer to her, I was in New York and she's like 25 minutes up the freeway. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you could go home with that. But I get what you're saying, Nicole, as far as the wife setting the tone. But I think sometimes it could be a little bit uncomfortable in checking your parents, right? Like, nobody ever wants to check their parents. And it's also trying to navigate what's the best way for me to convey my feelings, or our feelings, like my feelings and my husband's feelings, to my parent that's acting interesting, and still keep the peace when we have get-togethers and holidays and things like that. And I think suppressed feelings, right? This is suppressed energy. And now, but you live and you learn. I just hope they can make amends before, what's the next holiday? The cookout is about to come up, and who gonna be grilling with the sandals on?
Well, we assume it's not going to be Dad. And that's the other thing. Dad said he had a heart attack. Like, what you causing all this drama for when your ticker is bad? What's happening? And Dad, go sit down. Just go sit down. Please.
Well, that's why you got to address these family issues behind closed doors, right? Being at the dinner table in front of your spouse is not a way to do that, because your family's going to think you're being disrespectful, right? So you don't want to disrespect your elders. But, seeing as, my mom lives with us full time. She lives with us. She helps us take care of our child full time. But before that, we thought, oh, Lord, this is going to be, bad. But with my husband working and me working, who's going to help take care of the little one? And COVID's there. Can't take him to the daycare. Who's going to help with him? But I literally had to sit down with my mom and say, listen, let's talk about how you're going to dress my husband. Like, let's have a conversation. And hey, when I come in, if James comes in, let us spend time with our own child. You can go do whatever you want to do, but give us our space. And hey, what you said to James yesterday, let me let you, that was rude, Mom. That was rude. And you have to have an open line of communication with your family, especially if they're going to be helping you in some form or fashion and they're going to be around you. And if you can't have that open, honest conversation with your family, then they really don't need to be around. I am a firm believer of, if you can't check your family behind closed doors, then why are they there? Then just don't invite them over. Just saying.
I agree with that, Nicole. But the one thing I don't agree with is he poured orange juice in my husband's lap publicly. So you gonna get checked publicly. All of the whole respect the elders thing. And we've talked about this before, Nicole. The part of like, oh, you're supposed to respect your elders so that you might have long days, or respect your parents so that your days may be long, right? But we forget about the scripture part that says, hey, there's a scripture that specifically says, parents, provoke not your children to anger. So where's that part? Are we going to talk about that part too? Don't pour orange juice in my husband's lap publicly. Then you'll get embarrassed publicly. Like our parents used to tell us when we were little. You embarrass me in the store, I'm going to embarrass you in the store. They don't wait till you get home to whoop you. They whoop you right in the store, in the aisle where you embarrass them. So I think that the same rule should apply.
No, I agree with the orange juice thing. I'm assuming once the fight broke out, that they were kicking out the in-laws anyway. Y'all got to go. Okay, it's too much. You got to go. So I assumed that was publicly, get on out my house. Okay. But the sly remarks and the, hey, you're going to sit in the seat. Hey, Dad, why don't you sit over here? Sit over here. There's a way to handle those situations. Anyway, so at this part of the show, we talk about what we've learned new this week. Natasha, what did you learn new this week?
This week, I learned that suppressed feelings are really dangerous. And if I have anything festering within my system, within my soul, no matter to whom or what it is, to take care of it immediately and not let it live within my ecosystem, within my body, or else I will not only implode, but explode. So learning how to release suppressed feelings, that's what I learned this week.
So, Janine, what did you learn this week?
Actually, so I was looking at the comments on Black and Married with Children. It's a website about being married and having kids, and the comments from the incident that happened just a week ago. And one of the articles that I came across were the 3 people that Black men often have to protect their wives from. And they're actually a little surprising. The first one are family members. The second one, their children. And the third one are themselves. What did you learn new this week, Nicole?
So I learned 2 things, which I know people are going to be like, I can't believe you didn't know that. So the first is that actors have to actually be members of the Oscars. I didn't know that there was a member. I didn't know it was like an organization you had to be membership of. I didn't know that. And then the second one was that Regina Hall, Wanda Sykes, and Amy Schumer were actually the hosts of the Oscars. Like, that's how overshadowed these women were, which, I mean, they were probably amazing, but I'm sorry, I thought Chris Rock was the host of the Oscars this whole time. Because like I said, we were recording when it happened, and all of a sudden our Twitter started blowing up and our Instagram started blowing up. So we were like, what? Let's look at the recap. So here I was thinking, dang, Chris Rock was hosting the Oscars and he got slapped. But no, he was just introducing an awards segment. Who knew?
I think for that reason, Will Smith should apologize to the 3 ladies, because the incident did really overshadow their hosting. And I think that the Oscars should let them host again next year. Give them a redo.
Oh, Natasha Simona says no.
You know, it was wonderful to see 3 women. They never in history had 3 women hosting the Oscars. They never had 3 hosts hosting the Oscars, and it was women. So girl power all the way, right? However, Regina Hall did some of her jokes were a little distasteful, I'll say. And whether she wrote it and they approved it, or they gave it to her for her to approve, and it was just like, I just didn't like it. She's funny. I love her. They all have their own funny and their own individual right. But I don't know. I would like to see maybe Regina Hall, Regina King, and dare I say Jada Pinkett hosting the Oscars. I would like to see 3 brown girls hosting the Oscars. Thank you very much.
I would like to see that too, but listen, Jada is no longer going to be at the Oscars no more in her life, okay? She is no longer going to be there, okay? We can give up that pipe dream. Now, Regina Hall, Regina King, that would be actually a really good combination there. I would like to see that.
Or even Whoopi Goldberg, like something where it's a torch handoff, like the older generation, you know what I mean? Like something, or even Taraji, either way, I think 3 was too much. I think that's a little overwhelming to have 3 hosts. That's not necessary. So I don't want to see 3 people hosting at the same time in any, in an award space. It's already 4 hours. We don't need 3 people hosting, right? And I think her jokes were just a little bit too distasteful, but.
Well, I don't think they're going to have Whoopi hosting. They're going to be afraid of what she's going to say.
Yeah, and she's been towing the line of canceled for a second. So I feel like Whoopi probably is, and especially not now after this, because I think that we're going to be hard pressed to find a brown person that's going to host the Oscars, unless it's Chris Rock. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they may let him host it, but then that's going to always bring up the incident. So I don't think they're going to do that either. No time soon. I think they're going to say, let's let this whole thing die down. This was embarrassing to us. And it's also embarrassing that we didn't do anything. It's embarrassing to us.
I think that they should do one more. Let Chris Rock host. It's at year 95 and let it go. Just let it go. Let the Oscars go. We can come up with something else. Because it is 4 hours and it's stale. And the only reason we watch it is to complain about it, for real. Like, we are hate watching. Who has really watched the Oscars to watch them and enjoy them? I know that I haven't. I hate watch. I'll be honest. I hate watch the Oscars.
Let me tell you, I'll be watching from now on because I want to see who else going to get slapped.
I think when I was younger, it was a family function, right? It's like the Oscars are coming on, the Grammys, the this, the that. They were big events. But I think the older I got, the more I understood, the more really not just the older I got, I think the more social media evolved and the more we had platforms to communicate to each other, the more we started realizing what was swept under the rug and passed over because we just didn't have full understanding of things. So it's like the more evolution we see in the technology spaces, the more y'all, quote, can't get away with things, end quote. So everything that's been done in the dark and people didn't catch on to, the more we evolve in these tech spaces, podcast world, radio shows, like people having access to information. These you want to talk about canceling people, these shows about to be canceled and revamped and redone and done over. So we'll see. We'll be talking about this till 5 days before Oscars 95.
You think so? You think it's going to last that long?
That's another thing I learned this week.
All right. So while they're canceling TV, come on over and listen to Oh, That's Deep Black Women Conversations. Share this with your friends. Anyway, so Natasha, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We are so excited about you and everything that you have in store for the future. Tell our listeners how they can find you on social media.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure being here with the cool girls. You can find me, my social for my show, The Natasha Simona Sequence. It is at that. So at The Natasha Simona Sequence. And you can also find my personal page at I Am Natasha Simona. With an A, Simona.
We're so excited to have you on the network. We're always super excited when new podcasts join, but this is like my wheelhouse. Like, I love the entertainment updates. So I'm super excited. Please, everyone, follow her. Make sure that you follow her on social media and you go and download the podcast, subscribe, listen, rate. Rating the podcast helps it get to where we need it to get to. So make sure you rate.
Are you guys ready for the motivational moment for the week?
Let's do it.
Yes.
And it reads, stop letting people who do so little for you control so much of your mind, feelings, and emotions. This was said by Will Smith, who should have taken his own advice. Until we meet again.
Pray, work, slay.
And show off your melanated excellence.
Bye.
Oh, That's Deep, Black Women Conversations is produced by Nicole Lee Plenty and Janine Brunson Johnson. Executive producer, Ken Johnson. Get the Oh, That's Deep, Black Women Conversation podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or where you get your podcasts. Please subscribe and rate us. You can follow Oh, That's Deep, Black Women Conversations on IG at Oh, That's Deep BWC. Oh, That's Deep. Black Women Conversations is a Mean Old Lion media production.